Welcome to the Selling from the Heart podcast on the From the Heart Business Network. You've joined a global movement of sales professionals who are dedicated to being authentic and building trust. We call it Selling from the Heart. Together, we're on a mission to bring sincerity and substance to the sales profession we all love. Get ready to be inspired and equipped as we join our hosts, Larry Levine and Darrell Amy.
If you're a high-performing salesperson, you know your time is your most valuable asset. So why waste it on tasks that someone else could handle even better? That's where our friends at Work Better Now come in.
Work Better Now virtual assistants are specially trained to help sales professionals like you fully leverage your time. Imagine offloading administrative work, calendar management, data entry, and follow-ups so you can focus on what you do best, building relationships and closing deals.
With a dedicated assistant at your side, you'll have the bandwidth to grow your pipeline, strengthen client connections, and crush your sales goals.
It's simple. Free up your time, maximize your impact. Let Work Better Now help you work smarter, not harder. Your sales career deserves this game-changing advantage.
Visit workbetternow.com today to learn more and get started, because your time isn't just money, it's everything. Hello and welcome back to the Selling from the Heart podcast. Your co-host, Darrell Amy, here today with Larry Levine. What's going on, Larry?
Oh, all kinds of wonderful things. You know what? We're in the dog days of summer. Me being a baseball guy, that means we're in the last half of the baseball season, but that's not why we're here. But with our guests, we're going to hit a home run today, Darrell Amy. Let me tell you.
That is right. We got Mike Robbins in the house, and we're going to bring our whole self to this podcast. It's going to be fantastic. Hey, thank you for joining us. If you're new to Selling from the Heart, welcome. You've joined a growing community of sales professionals that are dedicated to being genuine, being authentic, building trust, all of the things that we call selling from the heart. And you're a part of a community of sales professionals all over the world that are saying, yep, that's me. I'm all in on that.
Yeah, and the person I'm going to give a shout out to, Darrell, I know you know who this person is, but she's like, takes this artful blend of technology and sales, loves blending it all together, geeks out on data just like Darrell does. Jennifer Mendelius, we appreciate you. Darrell, I know you know who I'm talking about, but we appreciate you being in part of this community.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Jennifer, we're cheering you on. True Selling from the Heart champion. Well, today we're going to have a lot of fun. Our guest is a voice of bold authenticity and deep human connection. We're thrilled to welcome Mike Robbins to the studio. He's a best-selling author, a leadership expert, and he's the author of multiple game-changing books, including Bring Your Whole Self to Work: How Vulnerability Unlocks Creativity, Connection, and Performance. Mike's journey from the pitcher's mound as a pro baseball player to the boardrooms of Fortune 500 companies is powerful and inspiring. Through his coaching, keynotes, and books, he equips sales professionals and leaders to do what we believe in most around here: show up fully, lead with trust, and sell with heart. Mike's message is simple yet profound. When you bring your whole self to work, vulnerabilities, values, and your voice, you unlock performance, creativity, and connection like never before. Mike, welcome to Selling from the Heart. It's awesome to have you here.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. I'm glad to be here.
We're in for a treat. Thanks for hanging out with us, Mike.
Yeah.
Well, as we get started, I'm going to pitch a question over to you that you're familiar with. Every guest on the podcast answers this one, Mike. What does selling from the heart mean to you?
I think selling from the heart to me really means prioritizing relationships and connection over closing business. You know, of course, we're all here because we want to close more business. We want to be successful and provide whatever services or products we have to offer. But I think it's really about showing up fully and connecting with the real human or real humans across the table or the Zoom screen or the phone or the email or whatever we're connecting with, like human to human.
Oh, this is good. I have to go back to, I think, one of the first words you used, and hopefully you can unpack this a little bit more. But you said prioritizing.
Mm-hmm.
Why? I'm just curious.
Well, I mean, for me personally, I got into sales right after I got done playing baseball, and I realized I was pretty bad at sales. Um, but I was good at connecting with people. And my first sales manager that I had, I was selling advertising, and he said, "Mike, how are you at making friends?" And I said, "I don't know. I think I'm pretty good." He goes, "Good. Go make a bunch of friends. People like to buy from their friends." And I went, "Oh, is that what sales is? It's just connecting with people." And to me, even to this day, all these years, 25 years into having my own business, and I'm selling all the time, when I think of it as selling, or I think of it as like I'm trying to get some agenda across or get someone to say yes, I get stressed out. It puts pressure on me. But when I think about prioritizing the connection with the other human or humans, that to me is fun. And that I can do whether I'm sitting in a taxi cab or I'm at a Starbucks or, I'm with some good friends or family or whatever. I'm someone who really likes to connect with people. So prioritizing the human connection takes the pressure off for me personally. And I feel like it allows me to show up with more curiosity and more interest in them. And ultimately, then we can see if we can do some business together.
Oh, I
I
love
love
it.
it. Yeah, so cool. Well, a lot of that bridges into the topics that you write about, authenticity. So many great books, like a whole shelf full of books on authenticity and showing up. And I love this concept of bringing yourself to work. Larry talks about it at length in Selling from the Heart, how important it is in the profession of sales to be able to show up authentically. And I'm curious, like, what brought you? You shared a little bit about your story early on in sales, but how did you recognize that authenticity and showing up at work the way you are is such a critical thing to being successful?
Well, I think, Darrell, it comes from, my background as an athlete. So I grew up here in California, of the Bay Area, where I still live, and I played baseball growing up as a kid. Had a chance to, actually got drafted out of high school by the Yankees, but didn't sign because I got a chance to play baseball in college at Stanford. Then got drafted out of Stanford by the Kansas City Royals, did sign a pro contract at that point. Unfortunately, got injured. I was a pitcher and I tore ligaments in my elbow when I was still in the minor leagues. And 3 surgeries later, after a couple of years of trying to come back, I had to retire from baseball, which was pretty disappointing and devastating, as you can imagine. But I basically played baseball for 18 of the first 25 years of my life. And most of the time that I was playing, even though I had some great teammates and some great friends, I spent a lot of time, even though I was pretty good, thinking that I wasn't good enough and being really stressed out all the time, looking
Mm.
around at my teammates, and nobody looked as nervous as I felt all those years playing. So I just thought something was wrong with me. Well, of course, come to find out, they were all stressed out and nervous too, just none of us were talking about it. And to me, it was sort of, it epitomized something that was important that I wish I would have known when I was younger. And that, sort of down below the waterline, if you will, of the iceberg for all of us as human beings. Yes, we're all different and unique, and we have different values and thoughts and experiences, but there's some pretty universal things. And I made a commitment to myself earlier in my life as I was in that transition of like, I don't want to spend the rest of my life pretending like I'm not nervous when I am, or pretending like I have things figured out when I don't.
Mm.
And as I started to share a little more about that, discerningly, right, I noticed that a lot of people would go, "Oh, yeah, me too." And then we would just be able to connect like human to human. And so to me, it's always been such a key driver in trust and connection, is that if we stop performing so much and just kind of show up with a bit more presence, for me, I find it's a lot, again, less stressful, but it's also a really simple and authentic way to connect with other human beings in a genuine way.
Mm.
Hey, I like this because I'm right with you on this as far as walking through some of the things that you just shared. But I got to go back to this why question is, why do you think so many, and this is just your point of view on this, Mike, is why do you think so many suppress this and they squash it and they don't bring it out in the open and talk about it?
Well, look, it's risky for a lot of reasons. It's not how we're
Yeah.
trained. And I would say again, for the 3 of us as men, particularly in our culture, depending on our age and where we grew up and how we grew up, there was a lot of suck it up, boys don't cry, the whole notion of kind of, and again, this isn't just a male female thing. Girls and women are raised and trained in a different way. Although I do think a lot of us, again, whether it's in sports or it's in business or it's in life, it's just the whole like, never let them see you sweat. always have it together. And there are times in life when we're in the middle of the presentation, when I'm up on stage giving a speech, when, yes, it's important not to share every thought and feeling that we're having at every moment that we're having it, because that would be a bit strange and hard for us to get our point across. But I think we have sort of over-indexed in our society on this notion of perfection, often to our own detriment. And like, there's a lot of cliches about it, but cliches are often cliches because they're true. But that notion of like, we compare our insides to other people's outsides and they don't match up. We're looking at other people's highlight reels and thinking like, I don't have it together, or I don't know how to do that. But oftentimes, again, the more genuine we can be about our own experience, not only will that liberate us, but it actually connects us with other people and builds more trust.
Yeah. I think sales is one of those roles. When I started in sales, I was young. I was, inside, right? Nervous, insecure, low person on the totem pole, all of that stuff. And on top of that, I was in an industry where it was, I've shared this on the podcast. It was white shirt and suit, casual Fridays. You could wear a blue shirt with your tie, and they weren't kidding. And so, so there was this, between just being nervous in a new position, anxious to perform, in kind of forced into a role there. I think early in my career, there was just a firewall between my personal life and my business. I was almost like I put a costume on to go to work. And, and of course, selling from the heart didn't exist back then. There was nobody talking about this. But I think sales is a role where this bringing your whole self to work, and been firmly convinced by hanging out with Larry Levine and made massive shifts on this in my personal life. But sales is a role that when we put the costume on, we put the game face on and all of that, I think it's an extremely expensive habit for sales professionals. I'm curious what you think.
I agree. And I mean, I do think, look, there's, again, another cliche that I love is that like, nobody likes being sold, but everybody loves to buy. And the idea is like, how do you get into the mind and really connect with the person that you're ultimately selling to? And look, it's a process, and you guys know this, and you teach this and know this even better than I do, but it's a process of building rapport and building trust. And I think the more that we're acting a certain role, or we put on the costume, the more that comes across. Like, most of us, even if we think we are, we're not very good liars. And there's a lot of research on body language and other things that like our energy speaks way louder than our words. So like, we show up even on a Zoom call, or a Teams call, or a phone call, or in person with somebody, and before we even open our mouth, before we go into our pitch, like the person already has a sense, whether they're conscious of it or not. Do I like this person? Do I trust this person? And again, over time, as we build a relationship with somebody, I mean, things happen in a sales relationship. I have clients that I've worked with, and people that have bought from me or hired me to come in over years and times. And again, sometimes things go a little sideways, or it doesn't go exactly the way we wanted it to, or we don't deliver the thing on time, or at the whatever it is. How do we deal with that? Because if you can close a sale once, but if you want to do ongoing business, it really is about how you show up and how you engage with people. And again, if we're putting on an act in order to get the business, but what we're doing and what we're saying isn't actually true, it's going to come out in the wash anyway, and it's going to come back to bite us.
Oh, amen on that. Because I really, really, really believe that, we have this innate sixth sense, and that sixth sense is we just, the radars are up and we're looking for this stuff, and we can see it, right?
Yeah.
We can see with our eyes, we hear it with our ears, we can sense people's body language and all this. But I want to go back to this conversation and the words whole self just for a moment. Is there's people out there that are listening going whole self, half self, if that's even a word, right? Walk us through what's this mean? Bring your whole self to the forefront. What's that look like in Mike Robbins' world?
Well, when I talk about bringing our whole selves to work, what I'm really talking about is showing up authentically, right? And that means, the way that I define authenticity is that we're honest, but we remove our self-righteousness, the I'm right, you're wrong, and we add vulnerability. We're willing to, as I like to say, lower the waterline on the iceberg a bit. Now, again, that doesn't mean we share everything with everybody all the time, But what it does mean is that, we're willing to show up as a full human being, knowing what we know, knowing what we don't know, being curious and interested in other human beings, and trying to look for and find, where can I find common ground human to human? As simple as it sounds, I actually think in the age of AI and as fast as everything's moving and all this incredible technology that we have, I really think human connection is going to continue to be a big differentiator. We've already seen it. I mean, just look over the last decade, trying to find ways we can actually connect with people in real time, in real life, is more challenging than ever. But when we're able to do that, it makes such a difference and people appreciate it. Because look, I spend a lot of time, like I'm sure you all both do, and a lot of people watching and listening to us, sending lots of emails and putting out lots of digital communication on social media and other platforms. But there's nothing that really can, replace actual human interaction. And when we have the opportunity to do that, do we bring our whole selves there, or are we bringing some representative, some doctored version of ourselves that we think people want to see versus who we really are?
One of the benefits that you highlight in the book on this is creativity, being able to be creative. And I think I've always believed the essence of a really good sales engagement is where we're co-creating with the buyer. They're involved, we're involved. It's co-creation. How do you think being inauthentic really hurts creativity in the sales process? And in what ways does authenticity, from your perspective, unlock that co-creation in sales?
Well, look, if you think about creativity, and I'm somebody, for years, I didn't think of myself as creative because I don't paint, I don't sing, I don't create in the artistic sense, but we're all creative. We're creating all the time. And creativity is really about the act of creation. And that process by its nature is going to be vulnerable. It's not scripted. It's not specifically defined. We're going to make some mistakes. It's going to, in a co-creative process, we're going to kind of brainstorm and bounce ideas off of each other. And if we're inauthentic or we're trying to follow our sales script or say all the right words or the buzzwords that we learned at the sales training or the thing that someone told us to do, what's going to happen is we don't leave space for the creativity to show up. One of the things that I do, in addition to, when I'm selling and sort of, offering my services, I do a lot of speaking, right? I'm speaking at events all the time. And I've learned for myself, now this is a bit of a different way to do it. And a lot of people understandably may not be comfortable with this, but I'm not super scripted when I get up to speak. Now I've been doing it for 25 years and I love it, but I barely use any slides. And the reason is I actually want to leave space for creativity in the moment. I like to interact. I mean, unless there's thousands of people in the audience and it's not really feasible for me to interact, I'm answering questions. I'm having the audience respond to me. And what I learned over years for myself, just my own style, Darrell, of presenting, is that creates some space and I'll start telling a story and think to myself, why the heck am I telling this story? But it'll just come out. And I've done this for so long, and this might sound a little strange, but I cannot tell you how many times I will have people come up to me after a presentation and say, I'm so glad you told that story about your dad. And that's the one that I was like, why am I telling this story in the middle? And now I start to realize, if we're really present, we can often listen and get a sense of what's the next thing to say. And it doesn't come from our notes or our script or our playbook per se. It comes from our awareness.
Oh, I like this because just the word present, just for a moment, is we have to be present. We have to bring intentionality. We got to listen, because if you can do that, and I like that you said sometimes you'll go off script or you won't use slides, all of that stuff, I totally acknowledge it. But when you do that, you start going into the memory banks inside your head going, you know what? I think it's time to drop one of these based on what I'm paying attention to out in the audience or as a salesperson in front of that buyer. And I'm glad that you're bringing this up, because you can't do that if you're not being present.
Absolutely. And I mean, I know a lot of us as salespeople, and we don't like to think of certain things like intuition, but our intuition comes into play. Again, we have to be present. We have to be listening. Look, sales is so much more about being curious and finding out what's going on with the other person or the other people. How can what I have to offer solve their problem? How can it make their life better? How can it address some need that they have? Again, they don't really care about whatever it is we're selling. They care about their problems being solved or their question being answered. And I think about this again. I know presenting and speaking publicly is a little different than selling, but oftentimes I say that to myself as well when I get up to speak, is that nobody knows what I was planning to say. Nobody even really cares about what I'm going to say. They care about themselves. So if I can speak to them in some creative way, that speaks into their listening, addresses some of what's important to them, what's challenging for them, then it becomes relevant. Again, as a salesperson, we don't necessarily want to leave the meeting and have the person go, I love that person, they're awesome. No, we want them to feel like they were listened to, and some version of a problem or an issue or a challenge that they have is going to be resolved by something we have to offer. And I find when I'm coaching salespeople, a lot of times, because it's stressful, right, Darrell, like you talked about early in your career, you're suited up, you're trying not to screw up. We put so much attention on ourselves, we forget that we're not actually there for ourselves. We're there to be in service of whoever it is we're attempting to sell whatever we're selling to.
Right, that right there is just such an important thing to remember. And this is, we're not here for ourselves. This is the essence of selling from the heart. We're here for the other person. What advice would you give to sales professionals that are listening in going, okay, guys, I buy into this. I'm a selling from the heart listener. We believe in authenticity around here. When it comes to being able to show up in a way, especially in a sales environment that's authentic, that's vulnerable, that drives connection, what advice would you give to our friends listening in?
Well, a couple things. Remember, there's two types of credibility, right? There's professional credibility, which is, do you know what you're talking about? Are you credible? Do you have the track record, both you personally, the business, the product, the service that you're offering? So there is an importance. You got to know your stuff, right? But there's also personal credibility. Personal credibility is, can I relate to you? Can I trust you? Are you willing to say you don't know when you don't know, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, those kinds of things really matter, and both are important. For someone to say yes, both of those things need to be present. And I think in general in life, and especially in sales, we over-index on professional credibility and we under-index on personal credibility. So anything that we can do to be more related, human to human, related to the person or the people that we're talking to. I mean, look, one of the simplest and most basic questions we often ask when meeting someone newly, I was just on a call earlier today, where's everybody from, right? I mean, but finding ways to relate, or stories we can tell, or experiences we have, or even questions that we have, curiosities about those kinds of things. I mean, again, we all know this, but people love talking about themselves. So like asking a question and then asking a follow-up question and then asking another follow-up, not to be nosy or pushy, but just like you get someone talking about themselves, all of a sudden they start opening up more. And if they're not, if you're willing to open up, the natural human response to vulnerability is empathy. So sometimes, even in a situation where the stakes are high and we really want to close the deal and we want them to take us seriously, and all, like I have found sometimes moments where I screw something up, literally in the middle of a presentation, and I just say, "Oh my gosh, I screwed that up." Don't you hate when that happens? And it's just a human moment that connects us all as human beings. Like, who hasn't screwed something up in an important moment when they didn't want to? And that actually weirdly creates more personal credibility and can bind us on a human level with the people that we're talking to.
Okay, so y'all are going to have to bear with me on this one. I'm sitting here listening to what Mike's saying and how Darrell set it up. Now, this is what's rolling through my head, so y'all just can't laugh. So there's this polished version of everybody, right? And we all know polish. It could be air quotes, whatever the case may be, is right. People think polish sells. And I'm not here to say you're right, wrong, or indifferent. Some people firmly believe polish sells. In my wacky head, sometimes dorky sells.
Totally.
Right?
Totally. Yeah. I mean, again, look, you got to be yourself. So you don't want to act dorky if you're not really dorky. But
but you get what I'm saying, right? That's kind of like the non-scripted, roll with it. Just whatever happens, happens. I know you know your stuff,
right?
But the over-polished comes out. So chuck a little dorky in there.
You know, Larry, it's funny you say that. Years ago, I had several of our clients when I first started my business 25 years ago ask me if I could come in and coach some of their salespeople and then coach some of their leaders on presentations. And that wasn't, I was talking about authenticity and teamwork and they were like, we like how you present. Could you teach us how to present like that? And I was like, I guess I hadn't, right? So I started doing these workshops. And what I noticed is I'd be talking to them, have a normal conversation. I'd say, okay, get up and give your presentation. Then they'd stand up and they would turn into this weird robot version of themselves. And I'm like, okay, hold on, time out. Who is that? What just happened? Right?
Yeah.
And I was like, remember how when we were just talking earlier and just chatting, you were like relaxed. And now all of a sudden you're standing up to give the presentation and you're up there. And we all do it, but it's like, don't think that you have to be some other version of yourself. So again, like if you are really just by nature a super polished person, okay, fine. Sometimes there's people that are so polished in how they operate and communicate, they actually need to tone it down a little because it seems like it's fake, even if it's not. But most of us are quirky and dorky in our own ways. And we think, oh, I can't be that way. I have to be more professional. People aren't going to take me seriously. I actually think one of the benefits of today's world is there's so much more freedom and flexibility for us to show up different ways. Right, Darrell, to your point, there aren't very many places where you have to wear a suit and tie every day.
Right.
If that's the case, that's way, way, way the exception than the rule. And again, it's not that we don't want to take things seriously or be professional, but we can bring more of ourselves. I mean, I do think one of the benefits of the pandemic, as hard as it was like we started connecting on Zoom and people's dogs were barking and babies were crying and the FedEx guy was showing up. And it was like we got a little more casual with like, hey, we're all just doing the best we can. We're living life. I think we can bring that into the way that we show up and the way that we sell, as long as it's authentic to who we are and we're mindful of who we're talking to.
I think so. I agree. Well, Mike, I know our listeners are sitting here asking one last question, and that is, how do I get more Mike Robbins in my life?
Well, I appreciate that. Best place to do that is at our website, which is mike-robbins.com. And we have a podcast called We're All in This Together that I do every week. That's kind of fun too.
Love it. Love it.
Okay, so here's the last question. Sorry, I'm hijacking this one because we're all in this together.
Yeah,
I know. I'm a baseball guy. You're a baseball guy. Darrell pretends to be a baseball guy.
Okay. Blue Jays. Okay.
Who's your, like, you're going to Vegas, you're chucking money down there going, this is a team winning the World Series in 2025. Who is it?
I'm going with the Detroit Tigers.
Sorry.
I know
Mike Robbins.
You're a Dodger fan, right, Larry?
All right, this has been fun, Mike. Thank you so much for joining us.
I set it all up. I had to ask, but I appreciate it.
Yeah. Let me just say the reason they're good, they're young, but my good friend and former teammate from Stanford, AJ Hinch, is their manager. So I'm a little biased. And I'm also a heartbroken former Oakland A's fan, and they left us. So I've actually been paying less attention to the major leagues this year as I lick my wounds and heal a bit. Anyway, that's where that answer came from. But I am rooting for the Tigers. And of course, all right, if you really, really force me to put money down and say who, it's probably the Dodgers, just given the roster that they have and everybody, the payroll and the whole bit.
Mike, I just wanted to hear you say that. Now we can wrap up. Darrell, it's all yours.
Awesome. Hey, Mike, thank you. This has been incredible. We appreciate you, man. You're a true
Mike.
from our champion.
All right, see you later.
There we go. It was going great until the end.
I had to squeeze Darrell.
But man, I'm bringing myself to work today. This is good. We're going legit, right? Super, super powerful conversation about showing up and bringing your whole self to work. Larry, you've challenged me to the core on this over the last decade, and I know our listeners hopefully have seen a bit of a transformation right here. But I think this is a powerful topic that we need to keep at the forefront, because sales, there's such a drag, I think, to be inauthentic in the role of sales for all the reasons we talked about today. But it is critical that we show up and are real in every engagement that we have.
No, absolutely. I've always said this, especially when it comes to authenticity, we're all authentic human beings. Everybody is. It's how we choose to show up in a way that helps to connect and relate to people. And so great conversation as always, but we're responsible for this. Nobody else is. We're responsible for how we show up.
Absolutely. And you are unique. You're special. I challenge you, go check out Mike's writing. He's got an incredible just shelf full of books on topics like this that you're absolutely going to appreciate, that align so well with the core mindset, heart set of selling from the heart. Hey, thanks for joining us this week. A special thanks to all of you who are sharing the podcast with your clients and with your friends. We really, really appreciate it. It is a phenomenal group of people all over the world who are saying, yep, that's me. I believe in authenticity. I want to build trust. I'm all in on selling from the heart. And if that's you, we appreciate you. We'd love to connect with you. And we're looking forward to the episodes that are coming up throughout the rest of the summer and on into the fall, all through the rest of baseball season. Larry, it's going to be incredible.
Yep, we're all rowing the boat in the right direction here. So thank you for listening to Selling from the Heart.
That's right. So till next time, keep being genuine, keep being authentic, keep building trust, bring your whole self to work. And most of all,
Sell from the heart.